Married at First Sight, season 19, Austin, episodes 3 and 4. So these episodes could have easily been called, You Don't Ask Me Enough Questions. That seemed to be the story for 3 out of the 4 couples. Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is Tamara Lynette Tales. In episodes 3 and 4, we saw the last wedding and the beginning of the honeymoons, which is where personalities really start to show. So let's start with the wedding, Belynda and Chad. Belynda's 47 years old and has been married once before. She got married young and started having kids at 19 years old. She has 3 kids, cast member Jalyn being one of them. So apparently her husband cheated on her a lot, so she divorced him. She's been single for 8 months now. Chad is 54 years old. He has a daughter. He said most people take a look at him, then assume he's mean. I guess he has resting jerk face, but he claims he's not an a-hole. By the way, did you notice that they don't bleep out the cussing on Peacock? I'm like, hello, put a quarter in the swear jar. There was a decent amount of cussing. Anyway, one of Belynda's bridesmaids asked her what she's hoping for the most. I just knew she would say something like kindness, faithful, accepting of her kids, honesty, great communication, those normal ones. Nope. She said, I hope he's taller than me, especially with heels on. And I'm kind of voluptuous. So someone who has some meat on their bones and long arms, because he needs to hug me all the way around. Girl, after being cheated on multiple times by your ex-husband, your main wish is a man whose chin hits your forehead? You didn't need to go on the show to find that. There are plenty of tall men with some extra pounds on dating apps. She finally did say a fun personality, but I just thought that was a weird answer. So Belynda also said that this is her first time seeing herself in a wedding dress. Her first wedding was on a whim, so she was wearing a jean skirt. Now, given she was so young, I wonder if they eloped or got married in Vegas or something. So meanwhile, Chad's daughter asked him what he was hoping for. He said somebody to grow old with, somebody to do things with, and have conversations. Okay, I'm not mad at that answer. Although he did add that that's all he's willing to share given she's his daughter. Kind of giving the impression that he had some physical or sexual traits high on that list, but he didn't want to say them. So the daughter noted that his bride needs to be tough as nails to deal with his stubbornness. Uh-oh. The experts described him as a teddy bear, a sensitive guy, and there's nothing he wouldn't do for Belynda. Did they get the stubborn stories from his daughter, though? Let's see how this plays out. So when they met at the altar the first time, there weren't any compliments flying around. So it wasn't clear if they found each other attractive or not. To the confessional cam, Chad did say that he thinks she's beautiful with a beautiful smile. But at the wedding reception, Belynda told her kids that she doesn't know if he likes her or not. Eventually, the doubts cleared up, though, for both of them as Chad proceeded to wow her with his corny sense of humor. Oh my God. I'm hoping he was just nervous because the bad jokes were flying around like gnats. Both sets of kids seemed to approve of their new step parent, which was nice to see. The day after the wedding, we see Belynda and Chad in the car, and they explain that they bought each other upgraded rings. So Chad got her a diamond, and it looks like Belynda bought him a sterling silver ring. I'm not mad at this idea of buying each other rings. To me, it shows a mindset, like putting their money where their intentions are, especially if they can afford them. The following day, Meghann and Derrek were talking about their night. Apparently, Derrek has night terrors. So Meghann told him he woke up screaming in the middle of the night. He sat up in the bed. Then after like a moment or two, he laid down and went back to sleep. Wow. He probably should have warned her this could happen. I can't imagine how terrifying it could be to wake up next to a stranger sitting up in your bed screaming. Woo, that sounds like a scene out of a horror movie. He said his dad has really bad night terrors. He would be running around their boat screaming, we're sinking, batten down the hatches. Derrek said he's not sure how often he has night terrors because he doesn't remember them and he lives alone. As for sex, they haven't had it yet, not on their wedding night. So Jalyn and Josh, this is my favorite couple so far. Don't make me regret saying that out loud, you two. Josh said she's the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. Aw, I thought that was so sweet. Not true, but sweet. But exactly how I want people on the show to feel. As they were preparing to attend Belynda's wedding, he said there were lots of kisses, but no sex. But he already knows it's going to happen soon. How? Did y'all make an appointment for it? Pinky promised to have it within the next couple of days. Like maybe they almost went all the way, then decided to pause because they wanted to wait a minute. I don't know. So the day after Belynda's wedding, during breakfast, Josh brought up signing a post-nup with Jalyn. He said his business partner asked him to have one drafted. The show makes them sign a prenup prior to getting married. I wonder why there have been cast members that feel like they need a post-nup. I looked it up, and according to AI, a post-nup is needed if there are significant financial changes during the course of the marriage, like acquiring a business, receiving an inheritance, or taking on new debt. So the current prenup should cover their situation, right? Sounds like they're just being a little extra careful. In any case, Jalyn was like, as long as you're not expecting me to be a housewife, I'm cool with it. I think Jalyn is doing pretty good with her career in real estate, so she's not looking for a sugar daddy. Meanwhile, Jalyn let us know Josh put his butterfinger in her peanut butter cup. So on her mother's wedding night, they consummated their marriage. So Josh was correct. I wonder if they said, let's wait till my mom's wedding is over. So producers interviewed Rhonda about her night, and a producer was like, wait, we didn't talk about what you did after you got back from the pool. We had a fun night. And the producer said, did you have sex? The producer kept asking, and finally Rhonda was said, can't my non-answer be the answer? My grandson is watching this. I think I was right. In my last video, I predicted Rhonda and Pat would be the first couple to have sex. So later we see the couples preparing to leave for their honeymoon. They're traveling to the Gamboa rainforest in Panama. As the couples prepared to head out for their honeymoon, they gave us a little flashback to 4 days ago. Looks like they had some sort of bachelor and bachelorette parties for the cast. The producers were basically letting us know that this wasn't their first time the cast met. Well, women and men separately, anyway. So prior to hopping on the plane, Pat said his friend sent him an instructional video on how to have sex on the plane, joining the Mile High Club. Pat shared the video with the cast as a challenge, and Brittany was like, yeah, we ain't doing that. However, Jalyn and Josh said, challenge accepted, and they did it. Josh said it only lasted 3.5 seconds, though. Hopefully, for Jalyn's sake, that was unusually short. So the episode ended with a clash between Brittany and Will. The morning after arriving to Panama, Brittany said they were getting intimate, then realized they hadn't taken the proper precautions. She never said who said something first, but apparently it got weird after it was pointed out. So she said Will told her, maybe we shouldn't do this again, meaning putting off sex, which to Brittany felt like distance and regret. Yeah, ain't nobody trying to have a baby on day 2, though, girl. Calm down. So they were talking about it. Then Brittany admitted that Will's response triggered her because she got in a fight with her ex, and he said, maybe we should slow down. Maybe we should break up. Once she said that, I was like, oh, girl, you needed to heal from that relationship before you jumped into marriage. Nobody wants to be compared to your ex, and especially they don't want to pay for the mistakes he made. So Will pointed out that he's not talking about breaking up. We're married. They both chuckled, but maybe we should slow down and go at a slower pace. I don't know what slowing down has to do with this situation. I'm thinking a little more happened than what they are saying. Why is Brittany feeling pushed away if the only issue is they need to use protection? Why would you need to slow down? Next time, just put a wrapper on your disco stick. So the mood of these two don't fit the story. I think there's more to it that we didn't see. Maybe time will tell. So that was episode 3. Episode 4, Jalyn and Josh. We learned Josh is very outdoorsy and Jalyn is not, which is a big deal. However, Jalyn seems to be willing to go out of her comfort zone to join Josh outside for now, anyway. So he brought up Burning Man, though, and apparently he attends it annually. If you've never heard of it, Burning Man is an event where thousands of people meet up in the desert in the middle of nowhere here in California to create their own city from absolutely nothing. There's like only dirt there for 9 days. They build stages, humongous statues, cities, stores, restaurants, and so forth. People sleep in RVs, tents, and makeshift living quarters. It's also been described as free love and an orgy. It's definitely not for everybody. So the weather can also be very harsh, extremely windy, and heavy rain. It rained really bad for this year's Burning Man. The rain turns the entire event into like a big mud pit. The dirt is almost like clay. So imagine clay when it gets wet. So he wants Jalyn to join him at one. I think he needs to ease her into it first by going camping at a real campground with like an RV before pushing her off the cliff into the Burning Man pit. Anyway, they went on a boat tour of the area. There were these monkeys in the trees. They offered them food, and one came down and took some treats right out of Jalyn's hands. It was cute, but I probably would have been screaming, afraid of getting scabies or something. I'm not an outdoorsy person either. So later they took a ride up to the top of the rainforest. It was kind of rough terrain, but Jalyn was wearing high heel slides. Okay, girl. So when they made it up to the top, Josh said, "There's something that's been bothering me." Now, both me and Jalyn were looking at Josh like, uh-oh, is this fairy tale coming to an end soon? Child, Josh busted out a diamond ring and said, "Oh, what you have is a little too small." Okay, Josh, let's go. Let me upgrade you. I wonder if the timing has anything to do with her mom getting a rock on her finger, too. I think so. I wouldn't be surprised if Jalyn told Josh about her mom's ring in a super excited way, so he decided to do the same thing for her. I'm not mad at it. If Mr. Post Snup can afford it, go hard or go home. She said, 5 days ago, I was looking at men who didn't even want to commit to having a girlfriend. This is insane. Megan and Derrek. So something I notice about these two is that they both come across as being serious and don't appear to smile much, which makes it difficult to tell whether they are having fun or enjoying each other's company. So Megan was telling him how she's been independent for so long, it's going to be weird getting approval for her purchases, and knows she has too many streaming service subscriptions, and she has a high gas station bill because she purchases a lot of ice for her ice baths. But sometimes the guy gives her ice for free. Not after he finds out you got married. He probably wants to hook up with you, boo boo. But what is with all the ice baths? That sounds like torture. So when they talk, Derrek seems to be leading the conversations. He'll ask her a question and she'll give a one-word answer, then wait for the next question. But of course, we have to remember they can edit it to appear this way. So to confessional cam, Derrek said he likes her, but she doesn't ask him questions like he would like her to. Watching them talk was beginning to look like a bad talk show interview. Derrek asked, "When you lived in Louisiana, did you ever catch crawfish?" "No." "When you were growing up, were you closer to your mom or dad?" "Mom." Their conversation was like listening to someone read the ingredients in grapes. Like, there's only one. Rhonda and Pat. These two were having communication problems as well. Pat is a good talker, but apparently not a good listener. So Rhonda was telling him about why she keeps the TV on when she leaves the house. Her house got broken into before. Pat was completely oblivious and interrupted her story to comment to himself about the food on the table, like, "Oh, they have brie. Let me get some of that." So to the confessional cam, Rhonda pointed this out, that he doesn't seem to be a good listener, and she's wondering if he's even hearing what she's saying. Sure enough, he was like, "So anyway, there's some really good series out there, right?" Talking about TV shows. He never acknowledged her house got broken into. It didn't seem like he even heard her say it. That was disappointing. I'm kind of rooting for this couple to make it. But they do seem to be on the same page when it comes to sexual innuendo. He asked her if he could taste her drink, and she said, "Of course. You can taste anything I have." And he said, "And I have." They grown, so get your sex talk on, y'all. So Rhonda decided to confront him about his conversation style. I think she did a really good job of expressing how she doesn't feel like he's interested in her life because all roads lead back to him. He got a little defensive and she called him out on it, but he put on his big boy panties and accepted what she was saying and course corrected. Grown folks' way of attacking a problem and correcting it. I like it. In these Married at First Sight streets, some people feel like Rhonda wants to only talk about herself, but I didn't get that from what she was saying at all. They both need to engage in each other's stories and ask more questions rather than change the subject by telling their own story. So we see them later venturing into the forest to participate in standing meditation. I thought meditation was supposed to be comfortable. Tree branches in your ear, bugs flying all around your face and crawling up your leg while you're standing up. How are you supposed to concentrate on connecting with your inner spirit with all that going on? Anyway, at the end, the instructor told them to look in each other's eyes and say, I see you. Pat said, I see you. I love you. Aw. And Rhonda replied, I love you too. She went on to say, I love the person you are, your kindness and generosity. I love everything about you. At least we have couples who seem to like each other, giving us something to root for the time being, anyway. Belynda and Chad, not gonna lie, I find them a little boring right now. Chad seems nice and means well, but his corny jokes are too much for me. But he's not my husband, so there's that. Maybe it's something he does when he's nervous, but a barrage of corny jokes can be exhausting over time. So Belynda asked him if he has a romantic side, and he said he did. And so Belynda said, Hey, I'd like to see that side of you. And he replied, I like you and I like you a lot. Yeah, not romantic or sexy. Brittany and Will. They picked up where they left off. Brittany is still in a funky mood over the sexcapade. She still feels like Will is pulling back and she's scared of getting hurt. Girl, there was always a greater chance of getting hurt by being on this show opposed to a dating app. But she said she didn't want to allow their night to ruin the entire trip, so she's going to work on moving past it. Again, whatever it is, got to be more than him freaking out over not having a wrapper on his candy bar. The heaviness between them felt too deep for that being the only thing that happened last night. I feel like there's so much more to this story. So Will asked her to ask more questions so they can get to know each other. And she agreed. And he said he's excited to spend the honeymoon with her. Oh, that's sweet. That's, to me, that's a sign that she needs to let last night go. He's still excited to hang out with you, girl. Group meetup. They had the brides and grooms meet up separately. So during these meetups, we learned that all of the couples have had sex. I believe this may be a Married at First Sight first. I don't remember a season where all 5 couples came back from the honeymoon non-virgins. Let me know in the comments if you do. So the main topic of conversation with both groups was communication. Pat talked about his communication breakdown with Rhonda. Will talked about Brittany not asking enough questions. Brittany said Will didn't ask enough questions. Meghann admitted to being more reserved, but wanted to keep things light since they are on their honeymoon. Derrek brought up Meghann not asking enough questions. So Will and Derrek seem to be inspired by Pat and how he handled Rhonda's constructive criticism and decided they would bring it up with their spouses. So when Derrek and Meghann went paddleboarding, Derrek brought it up to Meghann that he felt like she needed to show more interest by asking questions. He feels like he's the one keeping their conversations going. Let me tell you, Meghann is not Pat. She did not take these comments well. Even though he presented them in a kind manner, she immediately got defensive and said she felt the same way about him. I was like, what? She feels like she's the one who has to ask him questions to get him to talk. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, you just told the girls you were more reserved and keeping it light. You admitted that you may come across as not being interested. So where's this coming from? She completely shut down and said she was aggravated. So the confessional camp, she said when she gets aggravated, she shuts down and puts up walls. And now she just wants to be alone. This was so disappointing. Come on, girl, we can do better than this. But she did not handle this well. She doesn't appear to be a good communicator. How is Derrek's request to ask him more questions a storm off to your room situation? To me, the reaction did not fit the crime. Meghann, I boo you. Boo! Boo! Uncalled for. Foul. Meanwhile, Brittany decided to have a similar conversation with Will. She feels like she's been asking all the questions, and Will feels like he's been asking all the questions. Will said her questions are general. So Brittany gave examples on how difficult it is to get an answer out of him. She asked, when you're in a relationship, do you like to hold hands? Do you like affection? Yeah, that's cool. Do you like words of affirmation? I know you need that, and I'm cool with that. But I'm trying to figure out what your needs are and how I could be a good wife. I don't need words of affection and stuff, but I know you do, so I'm good with all that. But what do you need? I don't need compliments and you telling me nice things all the time. Either Will doesn't know what he wants from a wife or he doesn't know how to express it because he really couldn't answer the question. In the meantime, I believe Brittany's aggravation with him was too much. Like, let it go for now. I know you only have 8 weeks, but give it a couple of days. Either he'll show you what he likes, or you can ask the question in a different way after a therapy session or something. Instead, she got frustrated and said, we are not on two separate pages, but in two separate books. Then she left the room, went downstairs, and ate some chicken fingers. To the professional cam, he said, anytime someone is asking about family, past relationships, or how was your day, it's me, never her. I get the feeling he's dismissing her questions as frivolous, though. Earlier, he mentioned to the guys that her questions are too general. He's judging her questions as being meaningless. So he's dismissing them by saying, you're not asking me anything. Meanwhile, the producers asked Will if he's going to go after Brittany, and he said no. I figure she left for a reason because she needed some time to process. See, she didn't even communicate why she was leaving, so I have to guess. But she knows where I am. Meanwhile, Brittany's sitting downstairs eating chicken fingers, hoping he'll come after her. Since the producers know this, they should tell Will she wants him to come downstairs and talk. But of course, they aren't there to help this relationship grow, only to document the drama. Personally, I'm not a fan of storming out of the room expecting the other person to follow. If you want to talk to that person, don't leave the conversation in the first place. I think they are both at fault and just need to have a conversation on their communication preferences. This didn't need to be a heated argument based on what we were shown anyway. So for now, Jalyn and Josh and Belynda and Pat seem to be going strong so far. Rhonda and Pat look like they're back on track. If Brittany can have a calm conversation with Will, I think they'll be all right until their next fight, anyway. As for Derrek and Meghann, I'm not sure I want them to work it out. So far, I don't see them as being a good match or a fun couple. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. In the meantime, that's all I have for now. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in my next video.